Hello and welcome to Bristol Sport TV, our first show of 2016 from Ashton Gates Sports Bar and Grill. Well, it promises to be a big year ahead as the stadium is due for completion later in the summer. And this week the media linked the opening of it with the likes of Ed Sheeran, Eminem and Justin Bieber. Sports-wise, it's been a busy festive period with City at home on Boxing Day, followed by Burnley and Reading away. Rugby hosted a record-breaking crowd as more than 11,000 fans packed the gate to watch a stunning performance against London Welsh. The Flyers, well, they had a more restful Christmas with just one game away to Leicester over the holiday period. Meanwhile, our women's football team has been busy preparing for the new season ahead, and I'm pleased to say that their manager, Willie Kirk, joins me here. Happy New Year to you. Did you have a good one?
I did, Lisa, yes. Yourself?
Yes, it was very pleasant, a well-earned break, I'm sure. But you haven't had too much of a break because you're all busy preparing now for the start of the season.
Yeah, as soon as one season finishes, the other one begins, really, in terms of planning and assessing your squad and moving players on and try to bring new players in.
We talk about assessing your squad and moving players on. There has been a lot of movement, has there? I mean, you're virtually starting with a new team.
Pretty much. There will only be 7 or 8 from last year's squad retained, and then obviously new players brought in and young players promoted to supplement that.
Well, there have been some big names as well that have gone. Sophie Ingle, Wales player and club captain. Big loss for the club, but I guess a natural progression. Yeah,
it was no surprise that Sophie moved on. You know, Sophie's not a WSL2 player, and as much as we want to try and maintain that standard of player that we've got, you know, Sophie goes with her best wishes. She was fantastic, I think, at the club for 2 years and certainly under me for 6 months. So yeah, she goes with all her best wishes. You
talk about sort of dropping down into WSL2. Obviously, your main aim is to get back up into WSL1. How hard is that going to be with a completely new and very young squad? I mean, you're almost under 21s.
Yeah, pretty much. We could probably enter an under-21 league, to be honest. Yeah, it'll be tough. It'll be a lot tougher than people imagine. I think people automatically assume that we'll bounce straight back up, and obviously that is the aim. But Everton showed last year that it's tough when you go down there, especially when you do lose some experienced players. The beauty of it is that we'll be training full-time, or the vast majority of the squad will be training full-time, so that gives us great preparation in terms of getting pretty much a new squad ready for the start of the season on the 23rd of March.
And I guess when you talk about training full-time, and obviously there isn't the same amount of money in the women's game as the men's, so actually freeing up those spots of those big name players, if you like Sophie Ingle, I guess that is a benefit to some of the younger players because you can suddenly say to them, here you go, here's accommodation, here's your training wage, you can actually play professionally.
Yes, I mean, you know, every negative there's always a positive to be found in. As much as we've moved players on and we've had to cut the budget, I think every team that gets relegated in every sport in the world has to cut a budget at some point. So we've had to do that, but it's a huge opportunity for some young players, you know, who maybe are accelerated into the first team maybe a year prematurely.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because your background probably comes from bringing players on in terms of academy. You had 5 years up with Hibs. Yeah,
I did. I started in the boys' academy at Hibs after a short time with Livingston. And then after a short period with the boys' academy, I moved into the women's game. And it wasn't just about taking over the first team at Hibs Ladies, it was about putting in place a youth structure and a strong pathway that meant that Hibs produced their own players for the first team. And that's very similar to what we're trying to do at Bristol. You have joined Bristol at a very momentous moment in its club history with the name change. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, I think it's massive for the progression of the club in terms of what it brings to our infrastructure. You know, unfortunately we may lose a few fans along the way, but I would like to think that people can see, you know, the bigger picture and the long-term reasons why we've done this, and it's still, you know, the top women's football team in Bristol. So hopefully we still appeal to every football fan in Bristol. And it is a fantastic setup up at SGS and when you go up to the stadium there, but also being part, it is a natural progression really, being part of this group of sports, this family of sports. It is. I think Bristol Sports, it's unique in terms of, I don't think it's copied anywhere in the UK. I think it's something that's really exciting to be part of. You're right when you talk about the facilities. And the facilities alone will not attract players, but the whole infrastructure of a club will help create an environment that players want to be part of, and that's what we've hopefully got now. Just talk us through, so you're back in pre-season training at the very start of February, but straight off the bat you've got third round of the FA Cup. That's right, the girls come in next week, but it's 3 weeks of gym work, which is sort of preparation for pre-season, and then we're in on the pitch on the 1st of February. We've got an FA Cup tie on the 7th of February, which is not ideal, but you know, everything is geared around promotion this year in the league, so we had to design our pre-season plan around the league starting on the 23rd of March. You know, so we need to hopefully get through that third round of the FA Cup, and then it will enable us to be ready for the fourth round and subsequent rounds if we progress.
You've alluded to the players that you're bringing in. Any little exclusives for us? I know you have some great contacts around a lot of the clubs, not least Chelsea is one that's been talked about. Yeah,
we've got quite a good working relationship with Chelsea, and we would hope to announce 2 or 3 of their sort of brightest young stars coming on loan. So that's exciting, and probably announce that next week.
Okay, Willie, thanks very much. Best of luck for next season. Well, to their male counterparts now. And 5,300 Bristol City fans will be making their way to the Midlands this weekend for their FA Cup third round tie against Premier League club West Brom. The away end is completely sold out, and the club is expecting an incredible atmosphere.
The following we had last week against Reading was great, because, you know, that is so important to the players, you know, that the backing that they get. And, you know, it was no coincidence that in the second half, when we were attacking them, we were the team that was looking the more likely winner. So, you know, big thank you to them for spending their extra money and coming up and supporting us and getting behind the lads, and hopefully they can enjoy their day.
And don't forget, City have 2 home games next week against Preston on Tuesday and league leaders Middlesbrough on Saturday week. Tickets are on general sale for both games now. Well, Flyers return to action this weekend with a double header. First is a trip up to Sheffield on Friday evening for the league, and on Saturday night they're back in Bristol against Worcester Wolves in the BBL Trophy.
We really take one game at a time. Our main focus right now is Sheffield. We're not even thinking about the Worcester game at the moment. Transition offense for them is key. They're big men. They've got some very good experienced big men. They've lost one of their better players, one of their leading scorers in Cook, so they will be quite vulnerable, but at the same time they're still a threat. Regardless if it's league or trophy, we're trying to win every game. We have to just play at our best. So one game at a time for us at the moment.
We really want to win on Saturday, but we're so focused on Friday's game at the moment. That's all we're thinking about. But I'm sure once Saturday comes, being back in front of our home fans, playing against Worcester, we played several times, it's going to be a highly competitive game. And any game, especially like a knockout trophy game, we want to put on our best performance. And so it's going to be a good game. Probably another close thriller game, but we'll see. Hopefully we can be the team that comes out on top.
Don't forget, tickets on sale now on the Bristol Sport website. Tip-off is at 7:30 on Saturday evening. Finally, it's been a busy festive period for Bristol Rugby with 2 league wins and a visit to Wasps in the Aviva A-League, as Tom Vaux reports.
The biggest crowd of the season welcomed London Welsh to Ashton Gate at the end of December, and they couldn't have been better rewarded for their support. Bristol posted 5 tries, while Gavin Henson didn't miss a kick, and a 35-0 demolition of the newly relegated rivals. Adrian Jarvis spoke to Bristol Rugby TV following the final whistle.
I think not letting them score a try is really good for our defensive confidence. You know, we've always sort of creaked at the end of kind of halves, end of games, and that didn't look like it was going to happen today. I thought our defence all round was outstanding against a big London Welsh side who came at us pretty hard.
Completely contrasting scenes met an almost unchanged squad as they visited Nottingham a week later. 2 tries from Tom Varndell were enough to carry the travelling side to a 16-10 win in an attritional hard-fought game. One for the real rugby purists and a further display of Bristol's newfound defensive dominance. And finally, Bristol's United side made their last away trip of the A-League with a visit to London Wasps, going down 31-17. But not without merit. Augie Slovic's chip and chase, the standout score. A week off now before attentions turn back to the B&I Cup.
And don't forget, Bristol's next home game here at Ashton Gate will be on Friday the 22nd of January as they take on the Ulster Ravens. Kick-off at 7:45. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the programme. Look forward to you joining us again next week. In the meantime, have a great weekend of Bristol Sport.